Welcome to the Turf Nutrition and Management Podcast, the podcast for professional turf managers. Here, we talk about the profession, the ever-changing products, and the business side of owning and operating a turf management company. Whether this is your first year in the business or your 20th, our discussions and special guests will help you continue to grow a successful business. Now, here are your hosts with 35 plus years in the green industry, Kevin and Doug.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. It is the Turf Nutrition and Management Podcast. Myself, Kevin Salters, with Douglas Gray, a couple hundred miles down the coast of New Jersey. And today we are feeling blessed that we were not touched by the devastation that has happened in our eastern seaboard, but interior. It's baffling. How are you doing today, Doug?
No, like you just said, I mean, we're doing great because we weren't affected by it. But man,
Right?
Holy crap, man! My heart goes out to everyone. What is it? Florida, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I mean, it is just devastation that I've never seen before, and God, it's just crazy. And God, my heart goes out to everybody there that's been affected by it.
So I tried to get a listener. He actually was one of the sponsors of our breast cancer awareness shirt, Nick from Green Turf, on today, but he's busy because yesterday he spent the day 19 hours, almost 19 hours of doing some paying it forward, and he
Awesome.
flew his aircraft down, and it ended up being his co-pilot was his instructor, which is cool. So they flew down from, they're out of Connecticut, shore of Connecticut, and they flew down into the Carolinas. And once they were there, there's a whole organization of all these small craft pilots that put together where supplies needed. And he has a bunch of videos. And once he gives me permission to share those, I will, because there's been posts out there that authorities have pushed people that have owned helicopters out of the way. No, you can't help them, which doesn't make any sense. But what do I know? Anyway, one of the pictures was he was on one of the airport airstrips, and it looked like Walmart parking lot of airplanes. They were everywhere, all individually owned, all doing it on their own dime. They do not get money for this. They pay out of pocket, so they pay it forward. And then he has a couple pictures of some of the cargo. And then the wild thing was one of the airports that he was entitled to go to was half covered with mud. So he became a bush pilot all in the same day, landing this thing into this like crack and crevice of a runway in the mountains. But that's where obviously goods needed to go. I'm sure he'll give me permission to share things, and we'll post them. He was supposed to be on today, but today he's trying to make up for work because he has another flight again tomorrow for charity, which he's doing. He does a ton of it. So we will have Nick on. He's got, it's awesome. I mean, I watch him on a flight tracker, and the hours that it took to get down there in this small plane to go and move things around through this organization is just amazing.
I will be more than happy to send him some money to help donate for this. I think it's absolutely absurd that, because I'm not donating money to the Red Cross for this and any of that, because there's not enough of that money goes to what needs to be done. 70% of the money that you give to that organization goes to administration. So if you remember back when Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana, you could go to your local fire department and drop off food, water, baby supplies, whatever it might be. And once every 3 days, a tractor trailer came through and just loaded stuff on a truck. And why that's not happening right now, and it's not being orchestrated by our federal government, is an absolute travesty. Or states, for that matter. I think it's an absolute joke that something like this isn't going on. Now, I did find something down in Maryland, but I was too late. It was happening yesterday, but I think they're going to be doing it again next Wednesday. So I'm going to drive down there, load some water in my truck. Well, I can't next week because I'll be in Michigan. That just came into my mind. But I might figure out a way to get some stuff down there because it's a joke, man. I mean, I can't even freaking believe that this is even happening with the way our government's handling it already. I know it just happened, but the way they're like blowing this off,
it's been a week. That's not just a week.
You're
is
right.
not just
It's been
happening.
a week.
And
the way they're handling
unfortunately,
it's a joke.
if you look at it, unfortunately, it's being handled the same way as a train derailment in Ohio.
Yep.
It really, they want to make these things just disappear and not like anything's going on. And even our news media isn't covering it the way they should. There's people, they still don't have a total count of the demise of people yet because they can't get there.
I know.
It's way bigger than anything you see on the news. And I only have a little bit, and I'm sure plenty of our listeners do. And we probably have listeners in that area. And again, our hearts and prayers go out to you, trying to live your life and help and get going with what you have to get going. But Nick sent me pictures from the air, and it's baffling.
I don't see any other of these countries we give money to offering money like to do anything for us.
You're surprised at that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But at what point do we, as taxpayers in this country, say enough is enough? At what point is this going to stop?
Well, you can say it all you want. We just don't have a choice in the matter, and that's the sad part. Our choice is no longer allowed.
Well, I think we do have a choice, but just we need some direction on how to do it. That's the problem.
We
our need that person to be like, all right, this is how we're going to do things. Because, dude, we need the power back. They got too much power, and we need the power back.
Constitution says it right in the first 2 words or 3 words. We the people.
We the people.
Yeah, and that is so forgotten.
Like this is just if this doesn't wake you up, then you're freaking stupid.
Remember, when the Constitution was written and people were abiding by these new rules or whatever it was, the government was nervous of the people, and the government asked permission of the people, and that has turned 180 degrees. We now have to ask the government what we can and cannot do.
Do you know do you know exactly why the revolution, I might not have it totally right, but why the revolution started before this country was founded, or right when this country was founded?
I do not.
Over a 1% tax.
Really?
Over a 1% tax. Part of it. That's part of the reason why it happened.
Think about how many times that could have started.
And here we are. My God, state tax, city tax, county tax, just everything you can imagine. And, I remember, I want to say it was when Jim Florio was the New Jersey not Jim Florio, Thomas Keene was the New Jersey governor. And once his second term was up, when he left, he stated, do not let the government get big. And here we are.
The goal of the government is to get bigger, to create problems so they can try to solve them. It's pretty easy. It's sad.
It's just, anyway, let's move on to another subject because things I'll regret.
Easy enough. Nick also had a visual in his flight path of the ocean and ports. Yeah. So not so much the ports, but what lurks outside the ports, and that is cargo ships. Not, I believe he said in the thread, not as gruesome as you would think yet, but there was boats out there doing nothing. They weren't, and he says there's always cargo ships out there waiting to come in, but there was definitely more than probably normal. So our first shortage that they've announced in our area, and not for people to panic, but is beef.
I saw that today too.
A couple episodes ago, we talked about nutrition and eating healthy, and I'm way deep into these weeds of this, so I'll just talk from past investigations that I've done. Our beef in America, as long as it is transported from other countries into our country and repackaged in America, they can put on produced in America stickers.
Yep.
So a lot of this beef,
90% of beef is not in the United States.
anymore. And a lot of this beef may be produced very clean and well, and some of it may not be. So it's sad that they actually can vote something in to change the laws on that to good old foolery again, that it was made in, no, it just went from a cryovac into a cellophane wrap package. And then now they can say USDA, and it was produced in America, which is disgusting.
I don't know if I said it on the cast or not, but last Saturday I did a brisket, and brisket prices are up before this all was going on, but they're up, and I've always heard this, but never really believed it until now. But they inject these things with salt water, to keep them preserved as well as to make them heavier.
Yep, way more.
But I never really took notice of it before. So it was a 7.5 pound brisket. And when it got done, 205 degrees, it looked like a 3 pound brisket. And I was like, never again will I buy a brisket at BJ's. I will now go to an actual butcher to actually buy it.
So our family has been purchasing grass-fed beef literally from up the street. It's exactly 1 mile up the street from us, Black Angus. And the processing facility, which is a small family-owned business, second generation, almost third now, they do their slaughtering, and then it hangs for 2 weeks. To remove the moisture from the meat, it helps cure, it helps tenderize, but they weigh it the day of cutting, not of kill, so that you actually get a true actual weight of the hydration, some of it removed from the meat itself. And now they take that and they fill it full of water because they want to get more money for what they're giving you. Sure, I get it. It helps in the, let's say, preservation of it so it can be shipped and stay on the shelves a little bit longer, but it's not all for that.
Yeah, it just was an eye-opener for me. And then, fast forward till Monday night when I went back to BJ's to get food and supplies. Just, I wanted to load up just in case this strike I knew it was going to happen, but and then with everything else going on around the world in the Middle East, we'll touch on that in a minute, but you could already see during the week, I've never seen BJ's that crowded. And I was talking to one of the people who were bringing paper towels and toilet paper out. It seemed like every 30 seconds, because every time it came out, it was gone off the thing. I don't know why people panic about toilet paper, because it's probably the only one of the things that's made. Most of it's made in the United States, Mexico, or Canada. But at the end of the day, we were low, so I wanted to get it anyway. But it's amazing. Like, I'm seeing lines on social media with Costco's, BJ's, Walmart's, with lines out the door for people that are trying to get food, groceries, let's just call it. And they're like 100 deep, 200 deep. I saw one Costco. I don't know where it was, but there must have been 200-300 people in line to get inside.
So I did the same thing. It wasn't last night. It was the night before I got done, and I was fairly close. It's not super far from where we are, but I'm like, let's go take the run over. I finished out my route and grab a few things. Mainly wanted some other staples that we use every day. And like you said, the parking lot was packed. And it was, what's today? There had to have been Tuesday.
Tuesday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. And one of the guys that was loading his car, I'm like, is it a madhouse in there? He goes, no, not really. They're actually handling it well. He goes, but I come here all the time during the week because there's nobody ever here.
That's exactly why I go during the week, yeah.
And he goes, I got shocked on this one. I'm like, well, you know what's going on? He goes, yeah. And he wasn't loaded up with toilet paper. He had his normal stuff. But just to go back, and if you want to confirm how our beef is and where it comes from, I've mentioned this before on Joe Rogan, show number 1893 with Will Harris from White Feather Farms. There's 2 parts. There's him, and then they come back and do another one where there's him and his daughter. And you want to learn something about beef and regenerative farming. Great episode. Great Southern man with just a great, easy talking, little bit of an accent where you really kind of have to pay attention. So you kind of are on every word he's saying. Good stuff. So good ones, 1893, and you'll be able to find the other one because in that itself, it's White Oak Pastures. They sell beef. I'm not saying to buy from there, but we do buy most of our beef locally in our area, which has helped a lot for a lot of things.
It's just amazing how much it's going to, it's going to hurt the economy. Just these ports being shut down. I don't know if this number's right, and maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I could have sworn that I heard the economy every day, it's like $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that goes on for a month. Hopefully it doesn't. I mean, part of me says they're being greedy. I got to say that. I mean, I could care less about unions, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. But if you're one, so be it, but just, good for you. You don't have to, oh, I'm a union, so, stick your chest out. I just think they're being greedy right now. I mean, who gets 77% increases in raises over 6 years or 8 years, whatever it is? God, can you imagine if we all got 10% raises a year? Oh my gosh, it would be the greatest thing ever. But then you see some of the wages that these guys are making, and I don't want to hear it. Oh, well, it's skilled labor and all this stuff. We work hard. Yeah, we all work hard. People who are like quality workers, we all work hard. And their benefits and pensions are unbelievable. So part of it is they're being greedy. And this union chief that they got, I wish he'd shut the hell up, to be honest with you, because he's not making it any better for them right now. So, and that's just my opinion about it. I don't care if you're one or not, but don't throw it in people's faces. It's, nobody gets a 77% increase in salary in 6 or 8 years, whatever it was, just because. You know what I mean?
Mr. Harold Daggett is his name, I believe.
Yeah.
And let's say he's not longing for finances.
No, was it $900 and something $1,000 a year? $975,000 a year, I think he makes.
I think Elon Musk said he's got more yachts than he does. I think that was a comment he made on X. Again, thank goodness we're not part of it. Unfortunately, believe it or not, the people that are going on strike, sure, they'll get some type of their union strike pay, which isn't a lot, but it's not going to match what they're normally making for a 40-hour or 50-hour week. So there's going to be tightness there.
Like I said this last week, part of this whole thing is people are tired of watching all these corporations, man, show all these profits. And professional athletes, making $60 million a year, when you have the regular folk making $20,000 to $120,000 a year, depending on what your career is. And, people are tired of it. Everything's right in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't hide anything anymore. And so the internet is a great thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. And like I said last week, you can look everything up. You don't have to watch mainstream media to have knowledge. You can find everything out right on the internet.
Just be selective of the sites you go and look at.
That's definitely true.
But that's normal with anything.
Yeah.
So let's say with the disaster that's happened down in the Carolinas and Georgia, and then the union strike, what are you seeing? I know we talked earlier in the week of some possible increases in urea. This is very hard to forecast and put a definitive on, but I think anytime they can use a crisis to increase something, most of the time corporations do.
Well, first I want to say this is not a scare tactic. Okay. This is an unknown, a source. The futures market is up $80 a ton already. And, we're already in short supply right now. I don't think anybody realizes that, but we are. And you also need to understand how things are purchased. When the urea comes into like the Port New Orleans, they call it NOLA or Maryland. there's a price that's put on there. It's an FOB price, and manufacturers buy it according to a tender, whatever. They might order 10 tenders, whatever it might be. And so when you see a price of $325, that's the FOB cost.
So can you just explain what FOB is for people that may not know what that is?
The price before freight.
So just so people know, it's thrown around a lot of times, and sometimes you see it when you're making an order, just so people understand.
People don't want to talk about FOB because people are in this industry. Freight is cancer, and that's not, that's a bad term, I guess, but it's like the devil because people don't want to. They think they're not paying for freight, but you're paying for freight whether you like it or not. It's either in your price or you're paying for freight. It's just the way it is. Well, anyway, so then it has to get to that manufacturer, and then there's going to be added costs to it. But so right now that 325 futures is what's 325. That's what 405. So now we got to worry about not only the ports, because now things might have to be shipped via truck. Well, I've already heard about the 18% increase in freight throughout the country because there's a trucking shortage. Good time if you want to become a truck driver. Very good time. And then now we have to deal with possibly a Middle East war starting. I mean, it's already started, but
that's not a secret.
But it's not good. If you don't know, Iran tried to bomb Israel. For the most part, Israel defended itself, but so was it today, Israel bombed Syria, and it's just a matter of days before they bomb Iran. And I hope it doesn't happen, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say it's going to happen. So we're involved. No matter which way you slice it and dice it, we're involved as the United States. They've already said that they took out missiles from Iran, from the carriers in the seas over there. So we're involved. So, I'm at the point in my life, dude, I don't care about these. We need to stop spending money in these other countries. It's just my opinion. I just don't want to give any more foreign aid to these countries. Enough's enough, especially when we can't even fix our own problems.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, none of, like you said earlier, none of them have come running to support what has happened just in our country. Sure, it's to them, it may not be as bad as a war, but there's plenty of countries out there that we give money to that aren't in a war right now.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
but,
so they could be helping in many different ways.
And it's just, we can't be the world police anymore. Our debt is so freaking high. We should be paying back our own debt. And if we took that money that we're giving to all these other countries, man, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but we could reduce that debt.
So we're not going to talk politics, but we're going to talk of the process. No, because I hear it all the time in the news, and I was listening to an interview today that came up on the program, and they're talking about the money that is spent in each city to try to get votes and airtime and all that stuff. That number that they're using and the people are donating to both the candidates to try to get either one of them elected would solve a lot of problems.
Yep.
It's baffling the amount of money we're talking about. We're talking millions of dollars a day that are going out in ads and are being replenished all at the same time. People, stop donating to politicians and just donate to the people that need it. Heartstrings, go right down to the southern areas that are hit. Get your money down there.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Whoever the first cable company is that bans pharmaceutical and political ads, I'll pay another $100 a freaking month for that service to not have to listen to this crap and lies all the time. Since when do we allow pharmaceutical companies to put their drugs on TV commercials? Don't you have to get prescribed by a doctor? I mean,
everyone's self-diagnosing.
Self-diagnosing now, and
WebMD. Here I go.
It's really a joke, and then you see most of them that are being publicized are for problems that we could solve on our own.
Most of the time.
And we don't have to be medicated. I mean, I just think if you just look yourself in the mirror and start doing things differently, you could save yourself a lot of time and aggravation and money for that matter. But I just, whoever that first cable company is, I'm on board. I'm your first customer because I can't stand up. Last night I'm watching the baseball games, and every time innings change. It's one thing I like about watching soccer, and people don't like soccer, but there's no commercials for 45 to 50 minutes. You know what I mean? Because they don't break free from the game. So every inning, in between innings or even during innings, because that pitching change happened. First commercial, Kamala. Next commercial. Actually, it wasn't many Trump. It was actually all Kamala, to be honest with you. And it's just like, oh my God, like, if you haven't made up your mind who you're voting for yet, then there's something wrong with you.
And think about all that money they're spending right now.
Yeah, exactly. Nuts. That could solve a lot of problems. But they don't want us to have that money.
$750 for the poor people down there. That's going to help. I think that's the same amount they got in Hawaii.
Yep. Now, if that doesn't piss you off, then there's seriously something wrong with you.
And I'll speak from experience in Connecticut because we had a rainstorm this summer that caused major problems over in the western side. Not at the fortitude of what's going on by any means, but what came of that, if you have a house and you do not have flood insurance on it, which most houses do not have to have that or have it interior because it's never been a problem in 100 years.
And you're not classified in a flood zone.
You're not covered.
Yep.
These people have their houses, their livelihoods, they're nothing.
They're done.
So $750 is going to get them all set up. It's unbelievable. So where my property, my house would never require flood insurance, and you would never think in a million years, but that happened to those same people. They're in the same situation that I am, that you would never, your insurance company wouldn't even think about requiring you for flood insurance.
So this was about, I'm going to say, it's got to be 25 years ago, probably. We had a storm come through southern Jersey into north. It was kind of like 195 south. And it dumped 13 inches of rain in about an hour and a half. I wasn't affected. I mean, fortunately, where my house is, I'm on like kind of a hill. Mm-hmm. Our area here drains really well, so we didn't really get affected that much. But about 30 miles from me in Medford, Southampton, Mount Laurel, that area over there, all the lakes flooded and just homes were underwater for days. Bridges were wiped out. There's a canoe that's still wrapped in a tree at the one lake. It's actually like a monument now, and it was never classified a flood zone. And those poor people had, most of them rebuilt and all that stuff, but probably 20, 25 years ago, whatever it was, everything didn't cost as much as it does today either.
Right.
So I don't know, man. It's, if this doesn't wake people up, what's going on with North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, with the way the government's handling this, I don't know what's going to wake people up in this country, man.
So if you're not in those areas and it hasn't affected you and you have to continue on as life is normal, this is also a time to think about, with the strike going on, possible shortage of trucks needed to go around the country with moving stuff, is your early order is going to be super important this year.
Yep.
And it's you're hedging a bet. You're gambling. But I'm thinking it's not a short window from now until spring for prices to go up and then come down rapidly. There's not enough change that's going to happen once it's locked in. And they, like you said, they have to buy on speculation and availability to have enough time to make them into products. So I think we're going to have a decent increase in product costs.
If the strike isn't prolonged, that will bring that kind of stuff here, that's already here, back to normal. It's going to take some time. I mean, I think they said a week takes about 3 weeks to get back to normal, something like that. But if whatever's going on in the Middle East, if that doesn't get resolved soon, I know it's not going to. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic on that standpoint, but you also got to understand something, that's where a lot of our natural gas comes from. It comes from India, comes from some of the other countries over there. Then, if we can't get the natural gas to be exported over here, what are we going to do?
Well,
there's going to be a supply chain issue.
Since you're on that topic, I believe they just retarded a bunch of leases on natural gas production in the United States. They didn't extend them, renew them. However, the technical word is it. They basically shut them down. Easier. That's my layman's term.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, the screws are just tightening. Not sure why. When other countries rely on ours as well. So we're shipping that out to other countries that are actually allies that aren't fighting people that could actually help us if we needed to.
It's so if India gets involved, because India is actually one of the biggest users of urea, and if they get involved with this, because I think they're like, I'm not that anybody's the best friend over there, but they're going to support Israel from what I understand. I could be wrong on that. But if they get involved with this, man, it's going to put, it's not going to be good. And then whatever's going to happen with Russia, whatever they're going to do, who the hell knows? I don't know, man.
And that's
a lot of countries have interest over there.
And we're not here to talk about wars and conflicts. We're just here to kind of talk about experiences of when these issues happen, things get tight in our country.
Yep.
And prices are going to change and products could be difficult to get, but they're going to be more money. Whether or not it's warranted or not, it's a great reason to say I need more money.
And a lot of people in our industry don't like doing this. A lot of people don't even like do where you order, but if there's ever a time that you need to go to your vendor, whoever might be two vendors, three vendors, it might be one vendor. There's no time better than to go to them and give them a forecast of what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm just speaking from experience because this is what I do. I've application 1, application 2, grub control, some control products locked up already for next year. And, is it a wild gamble that, maybe those products go down in the springtime? Maybe, but at least I have my knowns that I put into my projections and I can work off of that. And instead of what's it going to be in February? What's it going to be in March? I know what it's going to be. So I know what my price increase should be basically in the next couple of weeks when I'm done with this. And it's secured. My prices are held, ready to go.
Well, now that we've solved the world's problems, let's get on to some turf subjects.
Okay. What do you got?
I'm sure, because we could talk about all those things for another 3 hours, so if not longer. Guess you're still seeing some grub issues out there, huh?
So I will post that picture. Woo! This gentleman called me probably 7 or 10 days ago, and we kind of played phone tag a little bit because he had an event he had to go to, and I get that. It was a wedding, so no big deal. So not my customer. Stopped by, took a look at it today, and oh boy, national chain, not saying which one, taking care of it. Lawn is flat. It's horrible. We are still dry, and I hate talking about weather and dry and hot when all these people that had just had a flood and having to deal with that, but this is just the facts that we haven't had moisture in forever. And I roll up on this one spot. It's probably 10 by 15. It is bent grass, so you got that going for you already. And I literally put my hand on the carpet, and you just move it like you're moving a dish towel across the counter. It was like,
crazy, man.
Look at this. So yes,
October
insects.
3rd.
Yeah. Where's my thermometer? I'm lost. It's 78 and we're going into the 80s tomorrow in northern Connecticut, which is just unheard of.
Wow, you're warmer than
And
me.
yeah, insect
You're warmer than
activity.
I am.
We don't have a breeze blowing right now. It's hot. It's dry.
I mean, we're dry. I'll tell you what, man, we are dry down here as well. I looked at actually, I did my own data because on the weather bug, it said there was like 1.16 inches of rain in September I guess my general area. I mean, yeah, one town could have had that, but where I'm at, it wasn't even a half an inch of rain in the month of September. And thank God I have irrigation. Man, my seed is all banging right now. I trialed a new product on my lawn today. Wow, just absolutely a phenomenal product. One of my customers, hopefully they're one of their new products coming, and just absolutely awesome. And just a matter, I watered it in as soon as after it, like I did my whole lawn and then I turned the irrigation system on, watered it in for about 5 minutes a zone. And I'm looking at it at the window right now and it's already popping. Like that's how quick it reacted. And, look, it's not a secret to what's in it, why it's happening, but it's not my thing to talk about anymore. But when that customer goes with the product and puts it out in the marketplace, it's going to be a huge seller.
So it's funny, you mentioned irrigation, where we are, and a lot of our irrigation companies are right on track of their normal schedule, and they really can't change because it's numbers working backwards, but they're doing their winterizations already, closeouts. I was at one house today where the homeowner had the day off, and he's draining all his garden hoses, everything, putting things away in the shed, because it's typically when you'd put that away, but really would have been better if he had the hoses hooked to sprinklers, but yard's too big to do that. But it's I guess the next thing in the Northeast is going to be, what's our winter going to be like? Are we going to have a winter? We haven't in the last 2 years, and last year was the even softest winter we've had in forever.
It's funny that you say that. So last night we were out in the backyard. I have one of those I guess TV projector screens or whatever you want to call them that we stream through a box so we can watch movies and whatnot outside when the wind's not blowing. Well, anyway, the acorns are just dropping from trees right now. And the squirrels, chipmunks, groundhogs. I mean, I got wildlife out the wazoo in my backyard. So they're all just, I've never seen it like this before. Is that a sign that we're going to have a bad winter? Because, I mean, I've never seen it like this. When I mean acorns, I'm not talking about like there's 10 on the ground. In my one corner of my yard, I've never seen acorns before, and there must be 10,000 of them on the corner of my backyard. And every day the groundhog's out there putting them in his mouth and taking them wherever he hibernates at, which I think is underneath my one shed. Whatever. I'm not going to bother him. He's not hurting anybody, so who cares? Because I did actually find the spot where he's coming in and out underneath my fence. So I'm like, I looked over and I'm like, yeah, he's under there. Whatever. It is what it is. But I've never seen that before. Isn't that a sign that it's going to be a cold and nasty winter?
Well, I think in the farmers world, which farmers are pretty good, but I did listen to a guy from the Connecticut State DEEP, they call it here, DEEP, and he believes a combination of a cyclical drop of acorn from a tree. Certain ones are doing it more than others, so maybe our white and reds, and not sure all the varieties of the oaks. And then also that it is mirroring the stress it had from 2 years ago. So tree gets, any plant that gets stressed, they want to replenish itself. It's their natural self-defense.
Yep.
You put that into the timing of a cycle of certain trees. And he he actually studied, I can't remember how many trees. It was like 100 and something trees, and he times them in all different locations in Connecticut. And in a 45-second time, he counts how many acorns drop in that time. And he is saying that is way above average for drops.
yeah.
It's
Big
crazy.
time.
Like, I was talking yesterday to Kyler from Hall of Fame Landscaping. He's actually going out to a customer Saturday just to do an acorn harvest. They want them off the yard. So he's going to blow them all the best he can, pick them up in barrels. He goes, hey, they're going to pay me to do it. But
Yeah, why not?
Time
and material.
I've been on some properties where there's a slight incline in acorns, and it's literally like being on ball bearings. The machine's chattering down the hill as you're trying to go straight. It's like,
like, I just have never
they're bad.
Seen them like this before. Like I've been in my house 23 years now, and I mean, I've never heard acorns fall constantly throughout the day and night, and seeing this many, like the squirrels back here are going nuts right now. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I've always that's probably a wives' tale, but I was always under the assumption when that happens that we're going to have a bad winter.
And again, these farmers were pretty darn smart with some of their analogies of what's going on. Like another one is when the swamps are full, we'll have a decent winter. And it basically turns out to the point that when there's great water and hydration in the swamps for evaporation to take place, and you can actually increase the snow loads, they say. But back to the acorns. I mean, if you're a deer hunter, find the food source. You know where to go. And the only increase, there's never been an increase on meat on venison. That's for sure. The government hasn't gotten a hold of that yet, other than our licensing fee. So harvesting some natural protein would be awesome, and it's going to be a good year, I think, if you can figure out your food plots and to and froms.
How are your weeds right now?
They're still banging. It's crazy. Yes.
Spurge, man. Holy shit.
Ours, I think, got it actually got dehydrated on the curb so bad. Hey, literally. But I am seeing, I was at a house yesterday, and a guy diagonally across the street that has a tree company. I've known him for 15 plus, maybe longer. And he came over to say hi, and we're chatting. And I went to go look at his lawn because he's got some beautiful specimen trees in there, and just chat and catch up with him. And he goes, Kevin, what is this? It's bittercress. And he goes, Sunday I mowed my lawn. It was not there. And yesterday was
bittercress now?
Yep. Like a strip across his front yard in the shade. It was wild. I'm like, it shouldn't be there. And he goes, I mowed my lawn. It wasn't there. And he does his own fertilization. He just does the big name 4-step program type thing. So he's not using any liquid control products, but wasn't there. So weird things are popping up.
You know that yard that I always say it's the Green Kalinga capital lawn of New Jersey?
Yeah, I got to bring up this
post.
That one too, I got to go bring it up right now. You can keep going.
So Green Kalinga and Nut's Edge is pretty much gone. But Green Kalinga is turning yellow right now. At this particular lawn, I'll have to remember to take a picture of it when I go by it next time. But when you look at it, it is yellow, but the seed heads are so pronounced right now. It's actually kind of cool, right? And then there's another house that I was walking by last night when my dog and I went for our walk, and the guy's lawn is green, got dollar spot all over the freaking place. Waters at 4:00 in the afternoon every day, and the grass is like 9 inches tall right now. And the Green Kalinga that is in this lawn is just like, holy crap. I don't even understand how you don't want to treat it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it costs money, but man, it looks like hell. Right now, Green Kalinga looks like hell. So yeah, tell a story about where you're finding Green Kalinga now. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Not awesome, but
a listener reached out and we've chatted back and forth. His name's John, and I'm going to butcher your name, John, but Petrucci.
Petrucci?
Yeah.
Oh, the guy,
you know him.
Yeah, I know who he is.
You're friends with him?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know him, but we follow each other.
Yep. So he sends a picture to me, and it's a field of or the area of green Kalinga. And he goes, hey, look what I found. And I forgot where he was at first. I'm like, wait a minute, you're in Rhode Island. And he's right on the border of Rhode Island and Connecticut. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, guy called me, wasn't his customer. I believe it was a national chain. He called me because he had chinch, but I found this in this yard. And it's green Kalinga in Rhode Island. It's not far away.
It's coming,
Easy,
baby.
Easy climate. And I know he and John and I were talking, and I know Matt and I have talked a few times. I guarantee we've stumbled across it. And you see just a little bit of it, and I think it's more of a denial thing. You're like, no, that wasn't what it was.
Here's the thing, though, is that, yes, I agree. It is probably there. But when it's like in that beginning stage of wherever it's coming, you don't see it until, how do I say this? Until you get that big patch. And then this time of the year, like the seed hedge, you can't mistake it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's just the way the seed head is, you can't misdiagnose green Kalinga. It's just, and let me rephrase that, false green Kalinga. You can't mistake that. So it's so pronounced that when you do get that first patch on someone's lawn, you're going to know it right away. But when it's in the beginning, because I'm going to say it's probably been here in New Jersey for about, 10, I'm going to say since like 2008, 2009. I remember the first time I talked to a professor at Rutgers about it. He's like, nah, there's no green Kalinga in New Jersey. Oh, really? Come on down to the Jersey Shore down in South Jersey. And he met me down there at a couple golf courses, and he was like, I'll be freaking damned.
So I just Googled it to see where it's been tracked and located. And a member of the sedge family that has been well established in the deep South USA for over 50 years and abetted by warm weather has been spreading northward for years. And now is a problem in coastal regions from Rhode Island to Florida to West Texas. Beautiful. So it's a coastal thing. I'm away from the coast, so maybe I got a couple years yet.
Well, I would imagine it. Dude, I'm 60 miles from the coast.
Yeah.
Got it.
But think about it.
Yeah,
it could have taken stand there more because they're warm. The coast here is warmer than we are interior, but now that we're not having winters,
well,
hello.
Virginia buttonweed.
Yeah.
It's a southern weed, right?
Yep.
Guess what? It is through my development like crazy right now. And nobody's treating it because nobody knows what it is. And, your standard 3-ways aren't going to touch it, just like, 3-ways aren't going to touch green Kalinga. But it's just, I don't even know how to. The southern weeds are coming here into New Jersey big time. And look, if we continue in these summers like we've had in the last couple of years, they're going to continue up the coast. And
summers and winters.
Yeah.
The softer winters are playing a big role in it too.
And I've said it before, and I'm going to say this again. Our programs need to be altered because of these issues we're having with whether it's weeds, summer stress, whatever it might be. 1 weed control a year in April and May ain't gonna cut it. You need to have a summer weed program in your program. Green Kalinga nutsedge, how anybody does that for free, I'll never know. Why? You should be charging for it, period. Yes, if it's one little spot that's going to take you 2 seconds, I got it. But these lawns that I'm seeing with all these weed problems, there ain't no way I'd do it for free.
So Matt, Nutmeg State, and I were chatting back and forth, and I kind of scared him last night because he says, hey, just checking to see how things are going. And I can't remember what I responded. And he's like, you okay, buddy? Anyway, Archon. He goes, hey, I want to know how your battle with nutsedge was. And he ran Archon, and he's thoroughly happy with what he's seeing so far.
Yeah.
So,
look, I think I told you this. about 5 or 6 episodes ago about that product. Back, I'm going to say 8 years ago at Rutgers Field Day, they were having trials up there, and they made it known that when that came out, it was going to be a granular only product. And but when you saw the results up there from that, I was like, holy shit, that's good, right? But you gotta use the right rate, and you gotta use a surfactant with it. And adjuvant.
He's using liquids, and he's very happy with the results he's had.
I hear it's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is,
curious to see what next year's like.
I've already heard the comment. Oh man, that's so expensive. Yes, I think it's $300 and something a gallon. I got it. It doesn't cost $4. I got that. But at the end of the day, you're charging for it, and you should be charging, my opinion, $15 per 1,000 square foot. So when you're out there treating these properties with it, you're making money. It's a specialty application. It's not putting a fertilizer out. It is a specialty application. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When I was doing lawn care, we had a deluxe program, and we had people that were just on nutsedge programs. I didn't have green Kalinga then. Be a bigger moneymaker now. But first application, blanketed every time we went out in that first application. And, from there, I would spot treat it throughout the summer every time we were there, because we were at people's properties every 2 weeks in the summer.
What was your go-to to blanket back then?
We only had Sedgehammer back then. Or
Hello,
actually,
Saffron.
I'm sorry, it was called Manage back then. Yeah, that was Monsanto. Believe it or not, Monsanto was the first halosulfuron product on the market. Isn't that crazy?
That's a few years ago.
Yeah, that's quite a few years ago. So, but again, if you don't use surfactant with it, like whatever your 80-20, I'd like 90-10s if you're going to use an adjuvant with it. 80-20s can be a little hot, especially at certain times of the year. But they do work, don't get me wrong. But 90-10s, I like them more because, number one, the use rates are lower. But anyway, I used to hear it all the time back then. That shit don't work. I'm like, no, I don't have any problem with it. I'm smoking everything I'm spraying.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what do we have now? We have sulfentrazone, knock it down in May, then you come back with another strategy to do it again. I know people who do sulfentrazone 3 times, and they don't have nutsedge problems. Now, I don't recommend adjuvants with that because it's a root absorb product.
She's a little warm.
Well, it's a root absorb product. So you want that to actually get watered in. That's one of the things about sulfentrazone, is that people don't put on their invoices or whatever to water it in. It really needs to get watered in. And think about it this year. Using sulfentrazone and being dry the way it was, it didn't do shit. So it's a root absorb product. And then, you have your Sedge Masters, you have Archon, like you said. And, it
was Vexus too,
Vexus,
right?
well, that's the same thing. It's
As
the same
Archon?
active ingredient.
Okay.
And look, at the end of the day, if you got green Kalinga, I don't know about Archon with green Kalinga, I'm not sure. But if you got green Kalinga and nutsedge, Solero, 12 ounces to the acre. Yeah, it's expensive. I got it. But use it with a good 90-10 surfactant at 12 ounces to the acre. 1 application. See ya. It is by far the best green Kalinga product I've ever seen. But that's just on my lawn. I can't speak for everybody's properties and everybody's locations, right? But at the end of the day, people got to get past this cost of a product thing. And if it works, then use it. And you can't chintz on rates. Because I will tell you, like Solero, 8 ounces to the acre, you're going to ding it pretty good, but you're going to come back and have to hit it. 12 ounces to the acre, I'm telling you, I didn't have any green Kalinga. I had all nutsedge. 1 application within 5 days after I mowed it. I'm going to say I sprayed it on a Sunday. I mowed it 5 days later. Never saw regrowth.
Is that a gallon or half gallon?
It's a pound.
Oh, it's granular.
12
It's a shaker.
ounces to the acre because it's a pound. And it's expensive. It's like $206 a pound, I think. But if you buy it on early order, I think it's like, I could be off on the dollar amount, but I think it's like $30 or $30 to $40 rebate on it right now. If you buy it in the month of October.
There's a lot of great deals going on.
Yeah.
Really. And it's hard because we're all trying to wrap up our season, at least in the northern section. You know, obviously down south, they continue to go on and maybe it's a little steadier of a pace, but taking a few minutes to look at some of the opportunities that are out there would be, no matter what's going on in the world, just it's going to go right to your bottom line.
You know, how do I say this? You can't be afraid to charge your customer, man. You know, at the end of the day, you all provide a service and most of us are good at what we do. You can't compete with, the people that are lowballers out there. That's never going to change. So why try to compete with them? But, get your dollar what you're worth, not what your market is. Because to me, you're going to end up buying the cheaper products, and that's just the way it goes. I know people who are in some lower, how do I say this, dollar amount areas, and they're on the high side of their area, and guess what? They're not having a problem getting work, because if you do good work, your phone's going to ring.
So Nick from Green Turf said it well a couple of days ago when I was talking to him. He goes, I price based on service and value.
Yep.
So maybe it's I'm higher, but I'm getting my money for the results that I get, and it's a results-based price.
Look, I agree, man. It's
and I don't know his pricing, so I don't know what it is, but he's doing a lot of fun things that I'm not doing. So I think it's pretty good.
This mindset that, I got to have the cheapest price on a product. Well, if that's the mentality you have, great, but you're going to continue to have problems. We have enough problems without using the worst products. You know what I mean? Mother Nature is going to win, like we always say, and she has. Up and down the coast, I think, not only did North Carolina get, hit with this hurricane, but they're getting killed with armyworms right now. I think it's like even out in some of the western states are still getting killed with armyworms right now. So I found an armyworm on my driveway the other day. I texted it to you.
Yeah.
Now
it's so weird.
Just found one. But at the end of the day, I'm still looking to make sure there's not going to be an outbreak. I mean, look, we had bands that came through with the hurricane. We didn't get a lot of rain from it, but we had some bands that came
bring it through. Yeah.
Exactly. So, keep your eyes open, because now I heard somebody on one of these groups today say that they had an armyworm problem in New Jersey along the coast, in like the Asbury Park area or something. So, well, that kind of makes a little sense. Warmer temperatures coming off the ocean right now, so maybe that's attracting them. But anyway, it's just been. I said this before. Okay, disastrous year for everybody, right? How about instead of going into the winter and just totally shutting this year off, let's not forget about it and come up with a plan to make next year better, to help try to combat these problems as best you can. Because if you do exactly what you did next year, like you did this year, you're going to have the same issues.
I agree, and I've changed my program, and we can talk about that on later shows. But it's a change on a few things. Different type of timing on nutrition, different products at different times. I'm actually going out and trying to be proactive on nutsedge on round 2 with a blanket of sulfentrazone, and that's already been built into my pricing, so customers don't know they're getting it, but they're getting it, and it's only to benefit everyone. It's obviously going to take care of a few other things as well. So, there's definitely has to be some changes because our climate's changing, and the shit that's getting thrown at us is, it's so different than it was 5 years ago.
I did make some changes to that customer expectation sheet that I did. I'll send that over to you. Look, I don't care if anybody uses it or not, but I think it's a good idea. I think at some point, customers have to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why it's so important to water things in. Why it's important to not water something in, right? I was doing some homework today and I was reading some articles about, different forms of nitrogen and, all that kind of stuff. What's the best thing to do? I mean, I know these answers, but I like to read and, I educated myself a little bit more. And, at the end of the day, everything that I say on this is all coming from universities throughout the country that, when you're putting granular fertilizer down and the temperatures, I'm going to say when the temperatures are over 70 degrees, every day maybe 75, every day that doesn't get watered in, you're losing 10% of your nitrogen. So we're putting all these products out, right? Why would you not want your customer to water them in? I understand, like, it's up to them to do it, but we have to put those expectations in there before the season starts, not when we're already going. Because if now they're reading this and they're signing off on it, they're understanding what you're talking about, maybe we'll have 50% better lawns out there. Wouldn't that be great? I went and saw a bunch of lawns for an old customer of mine this year, and I kid you not, they were the same lawns I've been to the last 3 years. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
Insanity.
Right.
The definition of insanity.
It's unfortunate, but that we're in this situation. But I just think that, it's something that has to happen. You have to be able to say to your customer, like, look, first round, yeah, your irrigation's not on. Nobody's, irrigation systems are on, but we're going to rely on Mother Nature to water that in. Just don't let your guy mow the grass, anytime soon, right? Part of that whole thing I'm reading is like, when you're doing a liquid fertilizer, you can either water it in right away or you let it dry for about 5 or 6 hours to get it into the plant a little bit better and water it in. But those still need to get watered in, right? So maybe not as drastic as granular losing with volatility, but still can have some volatility to it. So anyway, doing a lot of reading. So the reason I read that today was the application I put down, the type of stuff that's in this product, better off watering it in right away and get it off the leaf blade and, getting it into the soil. And like I said, 8 hours later, and I'm like, ooh, yes, sir. I like it. Now we're going to go see how long it lasts.
Yeah, there you go.
But, at the end of the day, I think it's important that the education to our customers gets better. I always hear it. Oh, I tell my customers all the time. Well, they're not listening to what we're saying. So somehow, some way, when we're putting these contracts out there, we have to hey, here's our standard contract, right? If you have nuts edge problems and you want to treat it, check this box. If you have green Kalinga, check this box. If you want your grub control, check this box. Maybe that's part of your program itself. If you want fungicide applications, check these 5 boxes, whatever it might be. But then on the flip side, have some expectations for your customer, about proper mowing. When I come and your lawn's being mowed at 2 inches, that's a problem. When I come and it's the middle of July and your lawn's all burned up and you're watering 10 minutes a zone and you're wondering why your lawn's burned up. Okay, well, you signed off on this, that you read this. You know what I mean? Covers your ass.
He's got time to talk. I should.
Who?
Nick's calling right now. Just he has a question. I was gonna railroad him and throw him on the podcast, but
that would have been funny.
He's probably blowing hydroseed right now. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this real quick while you're getting ready to go here. Quickly, Bluetooth, connect to the Rogue, all this technology. We'll see if it works. Give us a second here, people. Got an old guy with lack of computer skills trying to do computer work. Any big plans this weekend?
I think we're going to do some brewery hopping on Saturday. Hey, well, I had to buy a new garage door opener.
Is it ringing?
Yeah.
Hey, don't say anything. You're live on the podcast.
I'm behind the scenes right now.
Perfect.
Nice.
We just wanted to say hi. We've been talking about you. So everyone, this is Nick, who Green Turf. He's been doing some nice charity work with your airplane. How's the hydro seeding going?
It's dusty. We're back to being dry again.
Yeah, but you're squirting water. How can it be dusty?
A lot too more on, right?
Yeah, it is. Anyway, we're not going to hold you on the phone long. I'll call you back afterwards. I know I texted you and you probably want to talk about that, but we have the technology to bring you on at any time. I can hear your spray pattern. It sounds pretty good.
Try to keep it professional.
How many how many square are you doing?
Well, we're doing about 38,000 square feet.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
All right. Well, we'll let you go back to work. I'll give you a call when we're done here. And we told everyone we're definitely going to have you on and talk about your experiences of what you've done with your donation rides down to the Carolinas and all that cool stuff.
All right. Well, have a wonderful evening, gentlemen.
You go back to work and I'll catch up with
Take
you
care.
later, Nick.
Thank you.
See ya. Wow, you can hear the spray pattern and everything.
Yeah,
It's
it's
pretty cool.
pretty cool, actually. Yeah, so, talking back to early order, I think it's really imperative that, I think call your vendors, because I think it's something that if you've never done it before, it's a good time to get started. At least put a forecast. Hey, maybe you don't want to do early order, right? But you know how much weed control you're going to use, or you know how much fertilizer you're going to want for rounds 1 and 2. Give them those numbers.
Yeah, help them do some forecasting too.
At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be, no one's going to hold you to it. It's not going to be, if you ordered 120 bags and you only need 110, nobody's going to hold you to it. But, I think it's really important this year of any year. Oh, look, things could change. Things could go right back to normal and no problems whatsoever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not likely right now. And it's a good time to start the process. So maybe next year you'll be more up to speed with it and more comfortable with it, and then you do it.
So we talked about Sheila Chaplin coming on, and she just needs until October 18th. So in the meantime, and we'll have another show or two between that once we get her on, I think we're going to shift into Know Your Numbers again. And
Awesome.
just talk a little,
I love it.
little more detail about that, because the early ordering is here. So maybe we can help some people just understand the value of early order and or knowing application rates, and it's not the price tag on the shelf, it's the product itself and the quantity used of it.
Well, I me and my calculators. Well, I built a
Love
new
them.
calculator, and it's a little bit easier to digest.
Mhm.
I'd learned a lot of new formulas with my new gig, and things are so much easier to do. Let's say I was doing it the old way, and the new way is so much better and quicker. So anyway, I think it's a subject that should never go away. Just God, more people get on here, because hey, you might have a better way for everyone to know your numbers, right? But if it's in front of you, it's easier to understand, and not everybody wants you to know your numbers, but you should.
Yeah, and one tab that I have is and I actually opened it up when you were doing the Solero speech, was it's my product cost calculator, where either liquids or granular, where I can figure out quickly based on the jug, how many gallons, ounces are in that jug itself, and what the application rate. It tells me the price per 1,000 square foot, per acre, whatever you want it set to. I use that all the time. It's simple. I just put in 3 inputs and we have an export. Boom.
It's not hard, and I know a lot of guys
if you
do it already.
It's hard if you don't know it. And I think, even if you had something like this on your phone and you walked up to a counter and you see the couple jugs that are there or the bags that they're selling you, and you do the math and you come in as an educated shopper, you'll be shocked. You may not be picking the products you have been picking.
Well, I think one of the other things that we should do besides that is I'm so tired of seeing these questions. Teach people how to read a label.
You know, that's actually a really good idea. I know it's, and I've said this before, it's heavily dependent on our test. It really is in Connecticut that you be able to digest a label and where the certain, yes, I think that's a great idea.
But I'll be willing to bet that 60% of people don't know how to read a fertilizer or a chemical label out there. Why would you ever, what's the rate on this product on a social media platform? Read the label.
If you have the jug in your possession, you
Right.
should be able to see it.
And like, maybe that's just people for attention. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, holy crap, man. Like, if you're spraying products or putting fertilizer out for hire, you should not be depending on somebody else except for your manufacturer rep and maybe your sales rep of a company to talk about rates and so forth and so on. Because too many times do I hear, oh, you can go with the low rate of that product. And then that customer comes back 2 months later. It's like, I didn't really like the results I got out of that product. Well, if you read the label, it literally tells you on there at 1.1 ounces, it controls these weeds. At 1.3 ounces, it controls these weeds. At 1.5 or higher, it controls these weeds. So at the end of the day, you may not have all those weeds, but are you going to go through every lawn that you do to see what weeds are on the lawn before you spray?
Right.
So just go at the max rate and make sure you can or can't, or you do or you don't have to use a surfactant with it, because some products, like to give you that example, I don't like it because of the smell, but if you use a really good surfactant with Trimac 992 or any standard 3-way out there, you get some really good control. But it's not going to do that great for you on some hard-to-kill weeds.
I think it's a great idea. Just not to, none of this is meant to be that we know more than you. It's just to help everyone be smarter in what we're doing and safer.
I just, I don't know what it is about these social media platforms that why people ask some of the questions that they ask when they're going to get 75 different answers. And when you could just read the label or talk to your manufacturer rep, period. Like you said last week, they want your phone call.
They love it.
Because they will be your best friend. And again, if you have a really good sales rep, no matter what company it is out there, they should be able and willing to help you. And if they're not, you know the answer to that.
Well, the cool thing is we always like to help people. So there may be people out there listening in this business that are totally Dutch to a label.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have reading disabilities. And
yeah, that
I'm
you're
fine
right.
with it, 'cause
That's true.
one of my best friends who was older than me, we've talked about him, Fat Richie, he couldn't read.
You're right.
But he was a very astute person financially and did extremely well because he could add. But the poor guy just couldn't read. So I would take care and do all that for him. And more than happy to break it down into very simple terminology that hopefully everyone can grasp and learn from. So they feel more comfortable in front of it. Because a label can be very overwhelming if you're not used to playing with them.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I would love for like 30 people to get on this thing from all parts of the country, right? Whether we have a cool season grass, let's call it a summit, and a warm season. So number one, I can learn more about warm season. That's number one. And you.
I can learn more about cool season. What the hell? There's always something to learn.
At the end of the day, there's so many good people in this industry that why not just have, they're always going to have some downtime in the wintertime. Let's have a little freaking powwow on a Zoom call and just talk about the industry and how to grow it and how to make it better. Because, dude, we have to make this
challenge accepted.
Yeah, we have to make this industry better, man.
We did the Know Your Numbers,
yep.
And there was
a few on there, but not as many people as I thought.
Nope, but I think if we do more topics and more varieties, I think we can build that. I think it'll be fun. It'll be good. And I want it to be, let's say if we facilitate it, I want other people to be talking and almost taking the lead too, so that they feel comfortable in speaking and not just listening to us preach.
And the other thing I encourage is there's a lot of good trade shows and customer meetings that are going to start happening. So again, talk to manufacturer reps, talk to your sales reps from companies out there. Hey, where can I go for education? Where can I go to get my points? Because there's a lot of good things coming up, and it's a good time to start doing these things. I think the one show is out, Louisville, that's coming up. Unfortunately, I can't go. I thought I was going to be able to. Yeah, I thought I was going to be able to, but I can't. But at the end of the day, once the season's done, December, like New Jersey has a good one down in not the Taj Mahal. That's where it used to be. I can't even think of the name of it now. Whatever that casino is down there. The NJTA, New Jersey Turfgrass Association. Borgata, at the Borgata Hotel. And then, I think the first one that always tips everything off is the one down in North Carolina, the Carolina show. And from what I hear, it's one of the best shows around. And then at the end, you got the Providence show in March. But there's ones throughout the year. I think one is starting sometime in October some point, isn't it? But anyway, it's start educating yourself better. Yeah, because I think if we really started getting down to the science and started getting down to what products really do and how to use them, timing, all that stuff, I think we could really turn everybody's programs around. I really do.
Well, with turnaround programs, I think we'll call that an end. We'll wrap this thing up. I agree with you on traveling this winter. I'm looking forward to hitting a ton of them now that last year I couldn't because of restrictions of a hip replacement, but this year I want to make up for lost causes and go to a bunch of them. And yeah, the Equip would have been cool to go to, and one of these days I'll make it there, but it's a tough time for turf managers. October closing time.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It's tough.
You want to know? You want to know what's really funny right now? It's not funny, but it's just so. As many of you know, my daughter's a professional soccer player, and she started at North Carolina Carriage in North Carolina. Don't know how they have my email, but they do. But I just got an email from the NC Carriage about hurricane relief. And I'm just like, how simple is this? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep. Why
is this not happening all throughout the country and people spearheading it instead of through these organizations that are, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but I just don't trust them. Let's just say that. And it's not the government, it's private organizations and private people doing these things. And it's sickening. So the end of the day, if you have time, money, donations of product, baby food, all kinds of stuff, one of the biggest things I heard is something else, is dog food and cat food. Mm-hmm. Because there's tons of animals that are stranded too. So, I mean, maybe some of these pet stores should probably be having some kind of drive, I don't know, man. We used to be all not that we want all these problems to happen, but when they did happen, it seemed like we were so eager to help everybody. And in today's world, it just doesn't seem like nobody gives a shit anymore. It's crazy.
Stop giving it to politicians and give it to the people that need something.
Exactly.
They don't need any more damn money by any means. These poor people need everything. They've lost everything. Everything.
So I'm probably going to donate some money to this because that's the first one I've seen. And I want to help.
Yeah. And we need more to help. I mean, help a brother out, help a sister out.
Yeah.
These people, just, wow. Is it the pictures that Nick sent? And then, sure, the news shows them, but man, it's horrible.
Dude, I'm seeing pictures like that. Was it, what's the one town, not Asheville, not Asheville, but
one below it?
the one below it. Oh my God. The roads, like the main part of that town. What the hell was that called? I forget the name, but anyway, I'm just like, oh my God. It's crazy that they even think that this happened, but man, they need help. And God, try to find somewhere in your area, and I know there's Tennessee, parts of Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, wherever you are, try to do something, man, because people need our help. Because God forbid we're all in this boat someday and we need help. You know what I mean? We all got to help each other out and come together, man.
I couldn't have said it any better because, yeah, the times have changed, unfortunately, and our focuses have changed. Fast, instant gratification, shiny object over here, we're moving left, but there's a big hole in our eastern coast right now that is needing of everything.
Yep.
Awesome. Great way to end it. Thank you, Douglas, for talking about the donations for these people. Any way we can help out, let us know. We can do some broadcasting of that as well. Some organizations other than, like you said, the big ones that actually take a lot of it itself and the money and the profits from it to run their organization. If we can,
if I come across some stuff, I'll send it so you can put it on the notes of our podcast or whatever.
And I think Nick will have some too when I talk to him more. I bet you there's some that will fund their organizations of the flying of stuff around, because that is 100% all out of their pocket.
Please, because I will, if he has whatever website that is, I'll just
I'll
put money into it.
Yep, it's a good one, and they're doing good things. And the cool thing about it is planes are able to get stuff to people quickly.
There is one of our customers, I won't name who it is, because I can't, who is doing some type of drive or whatever. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, I might just load my truck up on Saturday and drive 5 hours and just take stuff down there. Because I mean, these people need help, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hate to be like this, but God, if I'm ever in that situation, I hope people have our backs, and they need our backs right now, man. So whatever you can do, even if it's $2, figure out a way to get these people supplies, man, because they need it
desperately.
Yep.
Desperately.
Anyway,
all right. Awesome, great show. I'm glad you brought all that up because it's super important. This will be hitting right at a timely matter. You all guys have a great week moving forward. Remember, keep these people in your prayers and your hearts, and open up your wallets, because when you give, you get back. By numbers, you'll get back. And paying it forward and keeping everyone's back is important.
Exactly.
Have a great week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Turf Nutrition and Management Podcast. We are always interested in topics you want us to dig deeper into. You can submit a topic or a question from the link in the show notes. Please like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, and share with your friends so we can all be better turf managers and successful entrepreneurs.